power of diversity in financial leadership. Reggie, I've had the most amazing interview with him. It is on the Markets Group website. If you have not watched it, please do so. We'll definitely share a link to it afterwards as well. But he's here to share a little bit about his story. So without further ado, Reggie.
You can hear it say persevere. Persevere. Y'all, let's give it up for Surveyor and the Markets Group. They put on a fantastic conference. To watch you all here today has been fantastic. And that group right before me, I know a couple of those folks up there, and they did a great job. And that's a great segue into kind of what I'll be talking about today is perseverance and the future. The future of wealth management, the future of our industry, the future of finance. And a part of that is persevering. Persevering through the hard times, persevering through pain points, and trying to get to that place in the future that we all know that we can be at if we persist. A brief moment about the benefits of embracing diversity, embracing inclusion in the industry. And you heard a lot of that from the panel that was just up here, but I want to emphasize a couple of other things. And then the commitment. I will leave that slide for the commitment. Story. I'm up here standing real tall at 5'9" right now, and you probably think like he's got some stuff together, but it hasn't always been like that. You know, I started right here in this town, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a unicorn. You don't see too many of us still here today, but we got a couple in the building, and I'm proud of that. I come from a part of Nashville where wealth and management and all these different things, they weren't talked about. They weren't known. They weren't, it wasn't a conversation that we had in our house. Right? I was born to a 14-year-old mother, a kid, literally, a 14-year-old mother, and an 18-year-old father who spent his time in and out of the streets and in and out of prison. And so my life grew up around poverty and violence, and I had closer gang ties and affiliations than I did to schools and universities, and I didn't know about all those things. I knew a certain way of life, and that was the life that I was born into, right? But the power of education, the power of community and people who believe in you, who present opportunities, and I believe that life is a whole game of choices and chances, right? Every step of the way we make a choice to go right, a choice to go left, a choice to be in this room, a choice to leave early, a choice, right? But oftentimes, we neglect and overlook the chances that need to be had, that need to be given to other people who don't necessarily are born into those chances, who don't have the opportunities that we had. And I am a benefactor, a beneficiary of those chances, of those opportunities that so many people poured into me. When I was 10 years old, I got the opportunity to play a game that I love, football. I played for South Inglewood Tigers, right down the road. And the organization was founded on a pillar of education, but knowing that sports was going to be the hook to get the little knucklehead like me out there playing around. But they had mandatory tutorings. They had educational aspects to that program that kept me around. Right? It was mandatory that you come, do your schoolwork, and then go into the field. And through that, I was identified as a bright young student, a person with potential, someone who could do the work at a school, Montgomery Bell Academy. Some of y'all may know the name, right? Montgomery Bell Academy became an opportunity for me through some of the choices, but the chances that were presented to me, right? And Montgomery Bell Academy, I enrolled in the 8th grade and changed my life. It was one of the hardest transitions that I had to make, coming from that environment that I was telling y'all about, right? Where I didn't know. The first day of school, I actually woke up on a couch in the projects, right? Because we were in between housing and we were staying with my grandmother. And and we hopped into a 1988 Buick. And I'm not that old, but 1988, like that was an old car. It was an old car back then. And I helped purchase that car when I was 13 years old for my mom, because we didn't have transportation before that. Right? That world, going into the world of Montgomery Bell Academy, was a total culture shock for me. But the chances and the choices were presented. If you can hear, say persevere. Persevere. It took a lot of perseverance. It took a lot of perseverance to get through that time, to get through education and athletics and arts and everything that I was involved in during that time, but I did it. I did it, and it awarded me the opportunity, another opportunity, to go to Vanderbilt University. Right? I had a bunch of other schools knocking at my door: Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Penn, you name it. I could have went to any school in the country, but I wanted to be home. I wanted to be right here, repping the black and gold. So I decided I was going to go to Vandy. And the picture in the middle is a picture from my graduation in undergrad. I studied econ and corporate finance, and when I got to graduation, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Right? I played a little football while I was there, and I didn't have internship experiences. And all the other econ majors, they're telling me they're going to work on Wall Street. I couldn't find that if y'all pointed, like, I couldn't find that. I was like, where is it? And so I had to figure it out. I went back to school, went and got a master's degree in accounting from the Owen Graduate School of Management. I'm a certified public accountant, right? Choices and chances. I took a lot of good choices in my life that I made to get to the place that I was at. But along the way, all along the way, there were people. There were people that were making a emphasis on seeing that I had the opportunity to do so. Graduated from Owen, started working with a Big Four accounting firm, Deloitte & Touche. One of the greatest firms that I've ever worked for. It's so fantastic organization. But I was working in external audit. And y'all, it was external audit. I did not enjoy the work that I was doing. It was a great company, great people. Right? And I think when you think back to some of the places that you work, it's a lot about the people. The people that you're surrounded by, how amazing it is to be with the people that you get to work with. Right? But I needed something else. I needed something that was going to light me up a little bit more, so I switched over into the world that we're in. Wealth management, investments. It excited me. Worked for a company, it was one of my former colleagues, Buck right there. Worked for Trucks and Trust. Got into this industry and immediately fell in love. Fell in love with sitting across from a client and seeing the light on their face. Right? Because when I was an external auditor, sitting across from a client, and I was in accounts payable, and Joe did not like me in his office, right? So people valued the work that we were doing. People enjoyed that, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I decided one day that I was going to start a company on my own. I was this young, naive, wet behind the years old guy, but I had a passion. I had a passion similar to Rohit. I wanted to provide services and information and resources to people who didn't usually get that. So I started the company, Rose Creek Wealth Management. Right, you see the rose in the background. It's a rose growing out of the crack in the concrete. Through all the perceived impossibilities, right? The poor soil, little light, no water, that rose grows. You see that picture of me on the right? It's my headshot from 2 weeks ago. That picture is the seed. The seed of the rose that came up out of the concrete, right? When that little boy was born to that 14-year-old mother, nobody would have ever imagined that he'd be standing here on the stage today. Nobody would have ever imagined that he would have had a CPA, a master's degree from a top 15 university in a whole country. Nobody would have ever imagined that. But with choices and chances, and when you get those chances from the people who believe in you, right, you can make some amazing things for yourself. And that's something that I always look at. I look at the people. I look at the Tom Stones of the world. I look at the folks over at Owen Graduate School of Management. I look at the folks at Vanderbilt University at MBA who believed in me enough to allow me to go through that process, right? And believing that I could earn it, that I could do it. I had a person that really sparked something in me when I was really young. Because when I was at Montgomery Bell Academy, it was again the hardest thing that I had to endure. Socially, culturally, right? And I decided at 8th grade, I was like, I'm not coming back. I can't do this. And I had a person father of one of my classmates, he told me, he's like, Reggie, this is a big old dude, stoic most of the time, until this moment. He starts crying. He goes, Reggie, you have to come back. My son's life is going to be better because of your presence. This environment is a better place because you're here. Right? Your diversity, your uniqueness, your background matters to this environment. We don't need a replica of all the same people. And that changed my mindset going on for the rest of my life. Right? I understood that the things that I carried shame behind, the things that I wasn't proud of, the things I didn't want people to know about my story, those were the things that made me unique. Those are the things that we celebrate. Those are the things that each and every one of you carry that make you unique in your environments and workplaces and friend groups and all of it. And those are the things that we celebrate. That's the power of diversity. We talk about the future of wealth management. We talk about the future of the industry. It's about celebrating that diversity. There's so many places where we do not do that in our industry. Right? To look around this room, you see that. Right? If you've been here all day, you see that. To look around the industry, to look around at your client base, you see it. But things are changing. The landscape is changing. And it's opening up. It's opening up doors for people just like that little boy right there. Right? And you see, I get very passionate about the things that I talk about. And that didn't start just yesterday. It started 2021. I released the book on the left, Perseverance Through Severe Dysfunction, PTSD. So heavy, heavy title. It talks about some deep things, some traumas that I endured in my life that really, to be honest, I didn't even know were traumas at the time. There were things that I normalized and pushed down, and they were just a part of my everyday life. The things that I developed coping mechanisms around in order to survive those environments that I had been in, from hood to MBA to the working careers, all of that. There's a lot of trauma along the way. Right? And I started the company and I got awarded for it. I was praised, and I was, Nashville Business Journal 40 under 40, Nashville Top 30 under 30, right? Top 100 in finance, all those things. But I would often get demeaning and belittling remarks from colleagues or other folks who didn't believe that I belonged in the industry. Didn't believe that I could go out, raise money, or have clients trust in me. And it's hard. It's hard when especially you've been programmed to believe this inferiority, that you are somehow less than the next person, right? And so you take that to heart at times. You take it to heart. And I try to break through that, right? Remembering the words of my uniqueness, my background, my everything about me, that mattered, right? Put it in the book. I put it in the book, and I express myself in the most vulnerable way that I ever had in my entire life to that point, right? And I felt the power of that. I felt the strength of that vulnerability. So much that I started a podcast called Vulnerability Muscle. Right? This is a shameless plug all day long. All of this, right? Shameless. Like the shame that I had and carried. It's some of it's still there, but like y'all gonna know some of this stuff, right? Right? And then I get to tell my story. I get to speak, and I get to talk to audiences all over the world. Right? And mainly it's an opportunity for me to tell them about yoga because I love yoga. So that's a picture of me in Florida down at a conference for schools similar to MBA, talking about the power of diversity, the power of safe spaces, the power of protecting our young people so that they can grow up and blossom and be the roses in their lives. Right? So let's talk about the representation. As a black advisor, I look at this because I walk into rooms and I feel this. It's kind of funny, right? There are two black people in here right now. Right? This is from the CFP board, right? So it's not representative of all the different industries and people that have spoken today. It might even look a lot worse than this in some cases. But right, 2% of our advisors or our CFPs are black. 2%. Just 3% are Latino, right? You got 4, I think, that are Asian. I think it's on the next slide, right? Well, let's talk about this. This is a big one, too. 24% women CFPs. A little bit larger than that number that we heard about earlier, but 24% are women. And we know the power of diversity. We know the power of women. We know the power of different ethnicities and different mindsets and different backgrounds and how those differences impact decisions, impact behaviors, impact the profitability of our companies. Because when we are able to be diverse, when we're able to celebrate these things, we can go into different communities, we can go and find different investors, we can go and get more money, right? We've embraced this, right? We've embraced diversity by age. I think I saw a study where it was 100% growth in advisors under 30 from 2016 to 2022, 2021, right? 100% growth in younger advisors, understanding, right, to connect with the younger generation, the intergenerational transfer of wealth. We have to have some younger advisors who understand this stuff. We have to have older advisors with the wisdom and the knowledge to mentor and train our younger people, right? We have to be in all of these different categories. It's important. Y'all heard about some of the importance in the last one, so I don't want to beat that over the head, but I had an older colleague of mine, right? I showed y'all a picture of the rose growing out of concrete. I had an older colleague of mine type into AI a rose growing out of a crack in the concrete. And this is what she sent me. I'm like, what in the 1990s paint application is that? That's what she sent me, right? But you see the same background that's in all these other pictures. That's AI, right? A young person can do that for me. A young person can go out and find ideas and deals and look at the world in a different way that I can. Here's some of the benefits of diversity, right? When we think about creativity, productivity, decision making, right? When you get a bunch of people in a room who all have different thoughts, you may not go with that thought, but that thought's going to take you down a different path than you would have if everybody else was in there thinking the same thing, right? It increases profitability, right? Increases profitability. I think there's studies all over the place, but 10%, 15%, 25% greater profitability when you look at companies that are more diverse versus those that aren't. Employee turnover. I guarantee you some of your favorite parts about working is working with your best friend. Is working with the person that you love to see day in and day out. Think about showing up to work and you don't have that. You want to get out of that place. Think about showing up and you don't have that person that you can talk to about the TV show, about the game, about the life, about the family, about the things that you relate to. What that does to turnover. And lastly, the business reputation. When we think about social impact, when we think about people who are more conscious about these things, who care about diversity, who care about representation, right? Your company is being represented by your diversity. And not just the diversity, but the inclusiveness, the inclusivity of what you do with those people once they're in the door. How do you keep them? How do you retain them? How do you keep clients and retain those? Right? It's important for your business, for your bottom line, but it's important for humanity. It's important. So when I think about the commitment that I want you all to think about, is these 4 questions, right? One from a personal level. What specific actions will you take this month to support a minority colleague's professional development within your organization? Right? Think about that. Maybe it's a part of your next agenda as a staff meeting, right? Thinking about how you can support a minority. From an industry standpoint, who in your professional network can you partner with to create or support an initiative that promotes diversity in the financial industry? What will your first steps be? And get action-oriented, right? You set SMART goals all the time. You can set SMART goals here as well. When we think about diversity, it doesn't exist in a silo, right? It has to be pervasive throughout our entire organization, the entire ecosystem. Organizational change. Can you identify one policy or practice in your firm that might intentionally exclude diverse candidates? And how will you work to change it? And sometimes it's we only recruit from this school. Right, leading into the other one, recruitment. What strategies will you implement to actively recruit diverse talent from historically Black colleges and universities or other minority institutions? If you can make a commitment to addressing one of those, I'd be a happy man. I think the industry would be a better place. If you heard the last panel, it'll be so much better for the future of wealth management. They did a great job. I'm just so impressed. But really, I think when I think about all of this, I come back to the choices and the chances. Right? I was a young kid who didn't know anything about anything in the world, and I'm up here talking to you all. Right? And I still, when I hear y'all talk, I don't know anything about anything of what y'all talking about with some of these all. But it's beautiful to be here, to be amongst you all, to be in this position because the choices that I made, right? It takes that. There are a lot of people who I know from my neighborhood, from back in the day, who made so many great choices, but they never got a chance. They never got a shot. How do you identify those folks? Because I am not the only rose that grew from that crack in the country. Appreciate y'all. We got 2 books. So y'all have been tired and sitting and laying, so I want to do something. Stand up, everybody stand up, stand up, stand up. And I want you to find a partner, and you're gonna play rock, paper, scissors. You're gonna play rock, paper, scissors. If you lose, sit down, go find, and then if you win, go find somebody else to play. All right, y'all start playing. Now, rock, paper, scissors, shoot, that's how we're playing. Last 2 people standing get a book. Just one round. No, just one round. Just one round. Did I mention that the book was a bestseller? Just one round with the person that you're facing. Move on. A lot of people think alike in here. How long is this going to take?
While we're doing this, does anybody? While we're doing this, does anybody have any questions for Reggie?
Who's the winner? Oh.
Who's the winner? Okay.
How many people we still got left?
All right, who else is still standing?
Are you the only one? Were y'all the last 2?
No, we got one over here.
Okay.
All right.
Who's over here?
You guys are still playing? Go play.
We got some folks here. Do y'all have any questions while we finish that up?
While we finish that up, any questions for Reggie? Yeah.
Great speech. Work with the organization Lost sounds similar without the sports aspect. We host a bunch of events with become scholars. Tips on like the best ways to engage with them, or like just from your perspective, you got any mentors? What were the best ones?
Yeah, the best ones were those who are authentic to themselves. So I think if you're going into an environment where you may not feel like you belong there, to not try to adapt to that environment because that's what you think is required, but to be yourself. And if you show up and it's seen as genuine, that you want to help, that you want to be there, then you make it. There may be a few jokes, right? Because there's differences, and children, they see differences. But when they see you connect and they see the consistency of you coming back and showing that you care, then they open up and they love you. So that's something that I've seen in my life, is the people that showed up consistently and authentically were the ones that I gravitated to the most. I would say, show up, you're inconsistent. Authentic.
Do we have?